Shadows asleep amidst the trees. Bats all are swaying in the breeze. But when the soul lies anxious, wide awake, fearing all manner of ghouls, hags and wraiths. For your dolly Polly sleep has flown, don't dare let her tremble alone. For the witcher, heartless cold, paid in coin of gold. He comes, he'll go, leave naught behind but heartache and woe. Deep, deep woe. It's all silent for the night. Cows turn in as daylight dies. But when soullight launches wide awake, fearing all manner of ghouls, hags and wraiths, my dead Dolly Polly.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Haunted Connection show, and we're bringing this to you from the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre in Hinckley, Leicester, and we are sponsored by Sims Vintage Antiques in Walton Warren near Stratford. So a big welcome to everybody. So tonight we were going to have Glenn Richardson on talking all things UFOs, but unfortunately Glenn is poorly, so we do wish him well. So he's not with us tonight, so it's just me and Neil. And we decided that we thought we'd throw the chat open and we'd talk about skepticism in the paranormal. So, of course, we want your thoughts, your views, all your comments down below. Ask us questions, or if you've got any thoughts about it yourself, then put it all in the comments, and we will do our best to bring you a good show.
Yeah,
So
we'll
I'm going to turn the books on you for a start, Neil, because you always ask me first.
That's my job. Before we start, I just want to say I've just had a message on Facebook that Paranormal Live Feeds has just sunk to a whole new low today. Apparently, somebody's doing a live feed and talking to Sir Captain John, via EVP, who sadly passed away today. To me, that is so wrong. What do you think, Jane? What can you say?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it would seem too early. If he's only passed away today, obviously we don't know what time he passed away. But it does seem a bit keen, because generally spirit do sort of spend a bit of time just sort of coming to terms. Once your body's left you, once your soul's left your body, once your spirit left your body, then it does take you a little while to adjust to actually being in that new environment, if you like. So it does seem a little bit sudden. I'd really want to hear it myself, and you know, and it's one of those things, I suppose, that you would have to be there really and be present to see the sort of other circumstances, but it does seem a little bit soon. It seems a little bit sad.
Yeah, I just think it's wrong, because it's getting the attention, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think even if you did do that out of respect for the family, you wouldn't do it on a live feed. If you did do it and it came through and you did it for your own personal investigation and whatever, then that's fair enough. But to put it on a live feed when the family's still grieving, it's probably not the right thing to do.
Not right. Anyway, we'll carry on with skepticism. Okay then. Go on, you turn on to me then.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you your thoughts, because you're probably a little bit more skeptical than people realise, aren't you? Because you don't take everything as face value as being paranormal. and sometimes you do take some convincing that is
Yeah.
actually what's you know what's going on. So let's have your thoughts first. Then
Yeah,
on
I am. Yeah, I am a little bit skeptical. I'm not as skeptical now as I used to be. I think working at the centre like we do, I'm not as skeptical as I used to be. I'm more skeptical on what other people show actually, because I'm not there, so I can't really say, yeah, that's true or not. I think you need to be there to be proven, don't you? I think.
yeah.
And there's so many fakers out there, I think, that you have to be skeptical on the paranormal.
Yeah.
I used to be very skeptical on Ouija boards, but I know I'm not skeptic at all when we're doing it. So I'm easing off a bit. But it's good to be a little bit skeptical. I think that keeps your feet on the ground and you don't get carried away with things too easy.
Yeah.
So,
I think you do have to question though, don't you? You have to. I mean, we've done it lots of times when we've been investigating. We've questioned, and I know for myself when I'm doing my mediumship, you know, I still think, is this what I'm experiencing actually real? Is this what I'm thinking? Is this what I'm experiencing? Is this what's happening? And I do question it, you know, to just to sort of give myself just a pinch, really, to make sure that it's what I'm saying is right and what I'm experiencing is right.
yeah,
I do think you do need skepticism, though, in the paranormal. You've got to obviously question things. Not everything is going to be paranormal. There's different levels of skepticism, I think, but the skepticism that I don't like is when people flatly refuse to believe anything that people are saying about the paranormal. You know, they flatly refuse that, you know, none of it exists. It's all a load of rubbish. And they're not even open-minded enough to actually sort of, you know, accept that there could possibly be something going on.
Yeah, let's put a couple of comments up. AJ said, we often question even when we hear or see something. So that in itself is a little skepticism. Yeah, that's just wanting to know if it's really what you heard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Having said that, though, I think not along with what Jane just says, people are totally shut off to the possibility of life after death. I don't like that sort of thing because no one knows. So how can someone be so positive? There's no such thing.
Yeah. I think you've got to be.
Looks like we are getting some spam again, which is damned annoying. Please don't click on the post. I've blocked them now. But also, I think some people go too deep to question things. You know, for example, you know, the door opening at the centre. If people start saying, yeah, someone opened the door 2 doors down the road, which caused a vacuum to open the door, that's going too far to explain things rationally. So it's a fine line to draw, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
and some people will, you know, question things to the extent that they've almost excluded the possibility that spirit could have done it.
Yeah, that's right.
There's another one, another spammer.
Tiffany says skepticism is merely questioning and not necessarily disbelieving. It's critically analysing evidence. Yes, it is, definitely.
There's another one for you to block there, Neil.
I don't know why we're getting these on now.
I think everybody's getting them across the board. Everybody seems to be mentioning it.
We never used to. It's annoying.
But so many people who are doing live feeds and that seem to be experiencing these spammers. So whatever you do, don't click on the links because it's usually always there's finances involved.
Yeah. Okay. Let's put. Oh, there's another one as well. Oh, does my head in. I saw a comment from somebody a bit further up. Martin says, I did not believe in anything till I had my experience at Nottingham Justice Centre. Now I believe 100%. Yeah. You'll have to tell us what you experienced, Martin. Chris says, hi, I believe what I've experienced, but skeptical about others telling stories. I try to question everything, then decide what is real. Yeah, that's what I says. Let me just get down past the crap. Block user. Okay, I'm blocking them as quick as I can. Well, my work colleague Joy's watching. Hi, Joy. I'll see you bright and early in the morning. Well, it'll be early in the morning. It won't be bright. So, when you're doing your mediumship, then Jane,
Yeah.
do you question things? Do you analyze what you're picking up and thinking, am I really picking this spirit up?
Yeah, I do. And sometimes, you know, when I'm sitting there and I'm quiet, and I've got something that, you know, that usually in the beginning, that's where I'm asking, you know, is this genuine? Is this real? Is this what spirit of, you know, I'm asking spirit if this is right information and everything else. And I mean, it only takes a few seconds, but then once if you like, once I've verified it, then that's when we sort of get into the flow. And you know, once I feel it's genuine and it's what I'm experiencing is right, then that's when I sort of start to say and tell people what I've got.
Yeah.
But I do always question, you know, what I'm getting is right, because I want what I want to give. And what I want to give is the truth and exactly what I am experiencing. So I do question it.
Yeah. Okay, we've got Katie watching from Ontario, Canada. Thank you for watching.
Hi.
My mate Bloss says he's never bright. she likes me really. Martin says, I was in the courtroom and said I need to go over there and was almost crying for no reason. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think your skepticism is really based on your own experiences, isn't it? Because if you've experienced things and you know in your heart that was genuine, you know, say like nobody was pushing anything or nobody was throwing stones, or, you know, there was only you in the room that saw it. If you know in your heart that was genuine activity, then that is what's going to make you believe, because you believe what you're seeing. And of course, then you're going to discount things, whatever, if there's a reason for that happening. But if it's unexplained and you've experienced it, then that makes you more of a believer. So I believe the more experiences you get and the more you do believe. And people who have genuinely never had a paranormal experiences are usually the strongest skeptics.
Yeah, that's what David says. Is this the feed about Rendlesham Forest UFO incident? It was going to be, David, but unfortunately Glenn is poorly, so he couldn't make it. So we've changed it for tonight, and we will get Glenn back another week and talk about Rendlesham. So I do apologise. You just stuck with Jane and myself talking about skepticism and the paranormal. Right. John says you need to have an open mind both for the normal explanation and for the paranormal one.
Yeah,
that's very true. Martin says it was as I never cry. It's not like me. Katie says when skeptics ask me to prove it's real, I ask them to prove it isn't.
Yeah,
that's a very good point, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
and I've been asked that question, you know, quite a few times over the years that we've been doing it, and I just say to people, I can't prove it to you what my experience was. I can't tell you enough detail to make you believe, and all I would say is get out there and get your own experiences, because I could tell you a million ghost stories and you wouldn't believe them. So the only idea for the proof, you know, if you want proof, you've got to get out there and seek the proof for yourself, because only by experiencing it will it open your eyes to what's happening.
Yeah, I think paranormal proof is very personal. Yeah, I'm on my journey, Jane is on her journey, you're all on your own journey, and your proof is going to be different to our proof. That's what I believe.
Yeah. And the person who sits in their armchair criticising and picking fault with everybody because they're actually out there doing stuff, sharing information, you know, that sort of person doesn't have any credibility with me, because being an armchair, you know, sitting in your armchair just criticising everything else everybody's done isn't the right way to go about it, really. Yeah,
that's true. That's the same as the location, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I don't believe you can have an opinion on a suspected haunted location unless you've actually been there to find out for yourself.
Yeah.
So, oh, we're missing some. Julie says, hello, you beautiful couple. Get your glasses on, Julie, I reckon. Dave says, okay, no worries. I just didn't want to be on the wrong feed. Yeah, sorry, Dave. We were really looking forward to chatting about Rendlesham, because I love talking about UFOs as well.
Yeah.
But Glenn's recovering from COVID, so he's a bit poorly today. Kay says, I used to question individuals saying they have heard someone whisper in their ear. I then had a spirit whisper K in my ear in the Skirrid Inn. Totally blew me away. Exactly, you see. It's if you get someone whispering in your ear, that's your proof or your evidence. It's no one else's. It's yours, isn't it? Because you're the one that's heard it.
Yeah. And I get that quite a bit. I've been in bed sometimes, and somebody's actually shouted my name so loud that it's woke me up, and I've actually got up and come into the hallway to see if it was somebody in the hallway. Yeah, and there's been nobody there.
It's Julia says, with so many experiences too, you need to witness it to believe it. Yeah. AJ says, exactly. Amy says, to the non-believer, no proof is possible. To the believer, no proof is necessary. I think you've actually nicked that off someone, Amy. You've not thought that is.
I've got some big words in there for you, Amy.
It has. John says, there are far too many armchair keyboard warriors around. Tell me about it, John. Experience is everything. That is very true. And the good thing about the way we work, Jane, is you'll get somebody talking to you, and then I'm there to sort of confirm what you're picking up, either by using the equipment or my senses as well. So, and quite often you'll say to me, Neil, like we did at the cemetery, Neil, have you got the dowsing rods? Because they're telling you they can communicate through the dowsing rods.
Yeah.
Or the flare.
Yeah. And that's one of the good ways, I think, how we work, because and I think Spirit know how you work with your dowsing rods, because I've never used your dowsing rods, and I wouldn't want to, because I believe that they are charged with your energy and they work really well for you, and I don't believe I would get the same results with your dowsing rods that you do.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Stefan says, I've had someone or something whisper in my ear, ring me. That's an interesting one. Lewis, another work colleague of mine tomorrow, says, hello, Neil. Hi, Lewis. We'll see you tomorrow morning. See you tomorrow morning. Bloss says, love it at the centre when Jane picks up on spirits.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, Bloss loves you though, don't she? But she picks on me. Just joking,
Yeah,
Ross.
I've never felt the wrath of the stick.
No, you haven't, have you? So tell us what you think about skepticism in the paranormal. So what do you think of people, like we've had some at the centre come and say, they tend to be men, don't they?
Yeah.
Who come up, get dragged up with their wives or the partners, and they say, I don't believe any of this. And
Yeah.
then we say, well, I tend to say, would you sit and use a Ouija board? And they'll say, no, I wouldn't touch them. How would you describe that sort of comment?
Well, I think it's very. I think we just have to be very diplomatic, don't we? And when people have been up to the centre, you know, we've had couples come up the same because we show people around, don't we? And we explain things and everything else. And I've shown couples around where the lady's been really interested and the bloke's just not been interested at all. And you know, he'll say, well, I don't believe in any of this. And I'll say, well, you know, it's obviously not for everybody, but it's nice that you've come up and had a look round and you've got an open mind and everything else. And because how we show people all the way through the centre, and then we always sort of leave them then to have a wander around themselves, and they can sort of have a look at things, pick things up, and then they come back to the tea room and have a cup of tea. Usually by the time they come back to the cup of tea, they're usually in a slightly different frame of mind, and they're quite, you know, 9 times out of 10 they will quite often say, oh yeah, it's very interesting, I'd like to come back again. And I think that is the first step, isn't it, to actually having a bit more of an open mind. And people have often said up there, even the toughest skeptics, that when they've been left on their own, they have actually experienced things, they've saw things, and it has changed the way that they do think about things.
Yeah, I'll always remember one seance that we did a long time ago, Jane. Complete skeptic sitting near you, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And it was a firm believer by the end of the night.
Is this the one that we did in Atherstone?
No, in the sounds room, you picked up on his family members and told him all this stuff about him, and he was in tears.
Yeah, he was a bit. He couldn't understand how I knew all the information about his nan. You know, hiding the fags in the coal bucket and things like that. And yeah, that was. I thought you were talking about for a minute when I did that séance in Atherstone, and the chap there, complete skeptic, never done a séance, never believed in anything, and he thought it was all a bit of a load of rubbish. And we were sitting around the table, and he did actually get overshadowed, and he couldn't understand what was happening to him. And for quite a while, he was coming out with all sorts of stuff, and he said, I need a pen and a paper. And while all this was going on, he was writing all this stuff down. And then I brought him out of it, because he was starting to get a bit uncomfortable. And it was fine. And then a bit later on, the same thing happened. And by the time I had to take him out of the room, I'd sort of white light him, bring him back, calm him down, and everything else. And he could not believe what had happened to him, because he had no control over it. And that was the first time he's experienced anything like that. And he was certainly a believer by the time he left. He was practically in tears. He was shaking. He just couldn't understand what had happened. And when he actually saw all the stuff he'd written down, he couldn't remember writing any of it down, or he didn't understand. And from when he read the information back, it was he recognised who the bloke was, and all the information that he'd written down. Because
amazing.
Yeah, it was a chap he used to work with, apparently.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, is Bloss's reply to me? She has permission from Julie. Oh, really? I'm going to have a word with Julie about that one. Martin says, when we were in the caves in Nottingham, all I could smell was beer. The only one in the room who could smell it, and there were 6 of us in there. Again, that's a personal experience. That's your experience, and I love personal experiences. I really do.
Yeah.
Michelle says that's how we work. Spirit tells us what equipment to use. Yeah, that's how me and Jane always work. I've missed some comments again because I've clicked too far. Okay, Julie says, the amount of times I've had clairaudience in my ear everywhere is ridiculous. A Ouija board is like a tarot. They're just a tool of communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. AJ says, would love to visit your antiques place. Yeah, we'd like to go back as well, AJ. Hopefully you'll be able to come and visit us. I know you're just starting a team up, I think. So perhaps you can book a night there.
Yeah, it'd be nice to meet you.
David says, skepticism is healthy in my opinion, but a blatant naysayer isn't. Yet they call themselves skeptics. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Healthy skepticism is good. It keeps your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And makes you think.
Yeah. And I'm open to anybody that can sort of ask constructive questions and ask for information or anything like that. But what I really don't like is somebody who wasn't there, who's not really got much information, telling me that what I experienced and what I saw wasn't real. And that when people sort of come up with stuff like that, that does sort of grind on me a bit, because who can say that? How can somebody say that what I was experiencing and what I was feeling and everything wasn't real when they weren't even there?
That's right. That's right. John says, this is about the centre. It's well worth a visit. Stefan says, I asked this question yesterday, but it was unanswered. What is your opinion on orbs? Do you believe they are spirits? Okay, Jane, you answer your opinion first.
Yes, I often, this is a question that is often asked, and I do believe that some orbs are spirits. Not all of them. Most of them, probably 95% of them, are moisture or dust or something, that's reflected in the light. Occasionally you do find a very interesting orb if we catch it on camera, and it'll perhaps be pulsing, it'll be changing directions, it'll almost have like an intelligence, and in some cases this could be the only way that particular spirit may be able to manifest itself. Everybody that completely dismisses orbs, I think they're missing something in the paranormal. To completely dismiss everything about orbs is, I just think you're missing out yourself. But there is a small percentage that really are very interesting to look at and study.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that in some cases that is the only way that particular spirit can manifest itself.
Yeah, I agree. And we've caught some, haven't we? We've caught some change in direction, like it's actually following the route someone would take towards a door, then disappearing through the door, or changing shape to make it look like a hand. Can you remember that one at Gresley? It actually changed its shape and it looked like a hand going across the banister of the stairs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And also one of the best bits of footage that we've got of, I believe, of an orb, and it'll be in your archive somewhere, of Wigston House. When we had the cameras set up, we were looking through the camera footage, and there's an orb that comes down through the ceiling. It comes down and it goes more or less down to the floor, back up again, and it goes to the light, and it hovers around the light, and it actually becomes that little bit brighter, and then it goes back up to the ceiling. It's almost like all the chaos that was happening that night. It's almost like it's come away for a bit of a break, come for a recharge, and then gone back up to cause more chaos.
So yeah, sorry if we didn't answer your question yesterday, Stefan, but hopefully we've answered it now. Yeah, we believe some are spirits, but you can tend to tell, and if you see them in your own eye, you remember when you did your live feed from the centre, Julie actually saw these coloured lights. Yeah. And they weren't dust, because she could actually see the different colour lights with her own eyes. Yeah. And that is one good thing about the centre, isn't it? We have seen some real bright light anomalies with our own eyes in the centre. They don't always have to be caught on camera. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Katie says it's important to remember Hollywood often romanticizes certain investigation techniques and types of haunts. It's important to investigate with an open eye, with an open mind. Most definitely. Hollywood has caused a lot of problems, I think, in the paranormal field. It gives people the wrong impression. And Bloss says we certainly would like to be back. Yes, we would, Bloss.
Yeah.
AJ said, so sorry, just read this one, Jane. AJ said, thank you. We'll possibly visit with Von. That would be nice.
Yeah, cool.
So what are you going to say, Jane?
I was just going to say how influenced some people really are by the films and all the stuff that does come out of Hollywood. Because I was looking at somebody's comments the other day, and they were saying that, you know, some of these things are real because they've seen it on The Exorcist and things like that on the film. And you just think, really, that was a film.
Yeah,
it's not real.
Yeah. Okay, Kay says, do you think some individuals can affect or block energies of others by being so blocked themselves? You start with that one then, Jane.
Yeah, if somebody's in a group, if you're say on an investigation and you've got some guests and it only takes even one person to negatively have that to be sort of shut down and to think, well, you know, this is a load of rubbish, we're not going to get anything, you know, that negativity coming from somebody can block the energies, because if you're sending that out, then it really is going to minimize the spirit activity that you're going to get, because that person will block the energies of others. I mean, you can have half a dozen people there with all the will in the world wanting to communicate with spirit, but it only takes one person to be shut down and negative to spoil it for others.
Yeah, it's like they put a force field out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether it's their aura they're pushing out, they're sending out, so it just stops everything. It really does. And John says, oh yes, no doubt about it, Kay, had it happen too many times. Stephen says thank you. I can't remember what for, but all about the question.
About the orbs, isn't it?
Yeah. Gary says not all orbs are dust. I've seen them with my own eyes without a camera. Yeah. Martin says, if I can get it right one. Martin says the last thing happened to me was something whisper in my ear my name, and I run out of the caves after that.
Yeah, this whispering in your ear is more common than we realise. Not many people sort of admit to it, or it's only when you start talking about it that people will say, oh yeah, that actually happened to me. But it does happen a lot. I get a lot of sort of shouting and comments in my ear, and a lot of the time I sort of answer them, but sometimes it's just purely shouting my name, and I go, what do you want? And then they've gone.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think they do that then?
I don't know. Sometimes I don't know whether sometimes they're testing their own ability of communication, because a lot of times I don't even know them. I don't recognise their voice, but they're men. They can be women, children. They can be all sorts. So whether they're just testing their voice and their, you know, as a way of communication, or whether somewhere there is some sort of link between us, but without sort of speaking to them further. But a lot of time it is just a shout in my ear. You know, it's either my name or a hey, or, you know, generally it's just my name. They'll just shout Jane, and that'll be it. And a lot of times it does wake me up, and it's different voices.
Yeah, so it's as if they're just practicing for when they talk. They can practice on you. If you can hear them, they can practice progress, can't they?
Yeah.
John says, for entertainment purposes only. It's a film, not a documentary. It's very true. And okay, this is a good one. David says, I'm on a personal search to prove to myself that there's something else after we die. What was the main thing that first convinced you? Let's start with you, Jane.
I mean, for me, I've been from when I was little, and I've told this story lots of times, when I was little, this thing used to come out of the cupboard and sit on the end of my bed and pinch my feet. And right from then, I knew there was sort of something else going on. And since I've always known that there was something else, but for me, it's finding the answers. And it's probably been in the last, well, since I've known Neil, 7 or 8 years, that I've really worked on trying to find the answers. And that's why I read so much. I try and, we try and work out different experiments and everything else. And being up at the centre, I feel has really accelerated our skills and knowledge and the way that we work.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree with you when you say I'm on a personal search. We are all on a personal search. Although we've got the centre, we're not out to prove anything. The centre is our journey, and we're just fortunate enough that there's lots of people who like to be part of our journey, isn't it? So the centre ends up being a part of their journey as well. But we are not out to prove anything. I've got no hopes of proving life after death. Like you, I just want to prove it to myself. I first got convinced when I saw a full-bodied apparition many, many years ago when I was a teenager. I saw this lady in white coming towards me. So I knew there was something. And now with the centre, we are able to push as far as we can. Michelle says, I have had that to do to me, same name, and wakes her up at night.
Yeah.
Cheryl says, healthy skepticism is a good thing, but having an open mind is a must. If the sun is behind the clouds, it doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah.
That's very well put. Wild Bill's watching. Hi, Wild Bill. Are you well?
Oh, well, Bill.
Anne's watching. Okay, John says, is the whispering in the ear a form of mediumship that feels like a whisper to those who aren't used to receiving messages?
I think so, yeah. I would say that, because it's your clairaudient and being able to hear spirit. And I think sometimes, even when you're just relaxing, I mean, it doesn't generally happen in the day. It happens generally, to me, it happens generally at night time. And people are calling my name, and that doesn't happen every night, but sometimes it can happen 2 or 3 times in the night, and it's different voices.
Von says, good evening, sorry I'm late, I've been training.
Ooh.
Oh, I don't like the sound of training. Sounds like hard work to me. Stephen says, I've been woken by somebody calling my name in the middle of the night. It sounded like my mum on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
It quite possibly was your mum then, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I one particular one, I think it was when I was quite poorly, I did actually have a voice shout my name and ask if I'm okay. And it was my mum's voice, but my mum's still alive, so I'm not quite sure. I'll still need to sort of try and work that out a bit.
That's a bit of a weird one. But do you think people who are still alive can send their energy out to check on you?
I believe not necessarily their energy, but their thoughts. You know, we always say you send out your thoughts, and it's, you know, your thoughts are an energy, and it's real, and it can manifest things. You know, quite possibly, my theory at the minute is that perhaps my mum was lying in bed, perhaps asleep, worrying about me, and subconscious just sent her thoughts. You know, she's perhaps thinking of me, and quite unbeknown to her, she's actually sent this thought out about me, trying to contact me, and it has manifested, and it's come. It's how you send. It's the same as saying a prayer for somebody, or sending somebody the best wishes and that sort of thing. So, you know, I do believe that. Bearing in mind, I've not seen my mum since last February, nearly a year. I mean, we speak on social media and that, but we haven't actually physically seen each other for a year now. And I do believe that perhaps it was her thoughts manifesting and are sending out these wishes to me, and it did actually arrive, and I heard it.
Yeah, I believe you can.
Yeah,
I firmly believe you can if you're open-minded enough to do it, and obviously perhaps your mum didn't do it consciously.
Yeah, and if the emotion is strong enough, then I do believe that people can do that.
Yeah, so do I. Martin says, when you are open next, cannot wait to come to the centre and would love to go into the mirror room. Yeah, would love to see you, Martin.
Yeah.
AJ said, I've had that with my mum, but she's alive. So that's very similar to you, Jane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I believe it. It's an experiment we can try, innit?
Yeah.
Anne says, I would think of my friend, then she would phone me saying, you just came into my mind, miss. Miss her doing that now. Yeah.
Yeah. Our thoughts are very, very powerful.
Okay, then. Is Shell asking for some advice? What advice can you give to amplify your own clairaudience and sensitivity if you are starting out? That's up to you, Jane.
It's a case really of sort of developing your mediumship skills, and that's one of the starting blocks really, is just being able to clear your mind, sit in your own energy, and then go on to sort of meditate and just learn through development really. That's what's going to help you develop your skills, if you like.
Okay. Kay says, if hearing a whisper is a form of mediumship, how would you go about developing this? It's a very similar question, isn't it?
Same sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's developing your skills.
Is that by going to circles and meditating and? It
is, but there's lots of I would say, while people are in lockdown at the moment, obviously there's no circles open. There's online ones, but it's up to you if you want to go down that route. But really, what you need to start doing is being able to just practice clearing your mind and sitting with absolutely nothing in your mind. And because if you've not got a clear mind, then it's very difficult for spirit to come in and out. And, even whispering voices and things, you've got to have a completely clear mind. So that would be the first thing I would say to anybody wanting to develop the mediumship if they're just starting out. Just sit and practice stopping all your thoughts coming in and all your thoughts going out, so you've absolutely got nothing in your mind. And that took me a few months to try and master when I first started. So that's an easy exercise that people can try. And then once you sort of learning that, sit in your own energy, sit very peaceful, very quiet, with a clear mind in your own energy for sort of 5 to 10 minutes. And try doing that every day. And it's that discipline and that work that sort of pays off in the long term.
Yeah, good advice. David says, my GP diagnosed me with exploding head syndrome 5 years ago. Just as I'm nodding off to sleep, I wake up with a fright to someone banging on my door very loudly, but there was never anyone there. Now when it happens, I take my lead from Bootsy, my cat. If she's still asleep on my legs, then I know it's that and not someone crashing through the door.
Yeah, I can relate to that, because for a long time when I sort of put my mediumship back, and sort of while my kids were little and stuff, and I didn't have an opportunity to work with it, I used to be able, I could feel that there was other people there, but in my mind there was like a door, and I had them all shut behind the door. I wouldn't let them in. I wouldn't let them come in. And quite often I would hear them banging on the door and wanting to come through. And I used to just keep the door shut and ignore them. And it wasn't until later on that I sort of when I started developing the mediumship more, that I did actually open the door and let them come through. But I can relate to what he's saying there.
All right. Okay. Von says, my psychic and mediumship training, nothing as in something energetic, laugh out loud. Oh, I thought you meant training. You were running around the park 10 times,
Yeah.
or
Got your trainers on, gone for a bit of
Or-
jogging.
or lifting the weights. So, any more comments, guys? Let us know. It's gone over so quick again tonight, though.
It has. Yeah,
So,
we've had some good questions.
what advice would you give people who perhaps go on an event and come across someone who is really, really skeptical?
I would, if somebody's on your event and they're skeptical, obviously, you know, you still got to be sort of quite polite and everything else and nice to people, but just sort of disregard sort of them being there, I suppose, because you don't want their negative energy impacting on your investigation. But keep an open mind and you know, just try and experience what you can with an open mind.
Yeah.
But then also make sure you just question what's happening. You know, so you're not being sort of fooled in any way, really. And sort of what comes to mind with that is, you know, when we've heard things about people throwing stones and stuff like that in the dark to just try and get some sort of noise or activity.
That's right. Okay, Shell says, I agree, Jane, and I think calming the mind certainly happens on a paranormal investigations when you're tuning into the venue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wendy says, hi, apologise, joined late. Don't worry, Wendy. If you want to watch, if anyone joins in late, these shows will always stay on the Facebook page and our YouTube channel, so you can watch it anytime you want. You know, it's probably best to watch on YouTube because you haven't got to go through all the other stuff that I write, because I tend to write loads of posts, don't I? So it's quicker to find them on YouTube. So do you think it's a good idea to have skeptics on investigation then?
Well, when you say skeptics on investigation,
who have got an open mind.
Yeah, I think, well, everybody that goes on investigations are all going to be at different levels, aren't they, of experience? There's going to be some people that have experienced more than others. And so people are going to be at sort of different levels, if you like, of skepticism. So if somebody's never been on an investigation before and they've never experienced anything, they're going to be a lot more skeptical than somebody who's had quite a bit of experience and seen and done all sorts of things where spirit's been involved. So yeah, just be patient, because somebody's on a different journey from what you are, and not everybody's at the same level. So even if somebody just comes across as being quite naive or not as knowledgeable, then give them a chance, you know, because they're on a different journey and they've probably started their path later than you have.
Yes, good advice there, Jane, as always. I taught her everything she knows. Fun says, laugh out loud, I used to be the catch-up queen when I was working. Wendy says, yes, as a lot of people relate to the skeptics. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can be skeptical, can't we?
Yeah. Then Wendy says, then when the skeptic finds something, the public are thinking, oh, this is real then. That's a very good point, and we've had that many times at the centre. Total skeptic, like we said earlier about the seance. Total skeptic. He thought he sat in the corner next to you, wasn't he, Jane? I think.
Yeah.
And you could tell all the way through he doesn't believe any of this. But then when you started giving him the message from his grandma, was it?
Yeah.
By the time you finished, he was in tears.
Yeah.
And he left that seance room a complete believer.
Yeah, and it was, you know, it was the right time for him. It was an opportunity for his grandma to give him the message that he needed. They will always come at the right time and give you that message when it's needed.
Yeah. Von says, We have taken them out with a skeptics. Many people started out not quite sure. Even sometimes I'm still skeptical with this. We involve them as much as we can. This is very true.
Yeah.
But again, you see, me personally, I've got nothing to prove. You probably think the same, Jane. At the centre, we have got nothing to prove.
No.
Because we know it's real.
Yeah.
Because of the things we've experienced and the way we work. You know, you say use the dowsing rods and we get activity on them, or use the FLIR, then we get the awesome picture.
Blue face. Yeah.
So, and I just think we've got nothing to prove. It's like when we do Ouija boards, people will say turn your fingers upside down just to prove you're not pushing it. I'm not pushing it, so I haven't got to prove it.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. We don't have to prove anything. The centre is our journey, like I said earlier, and we are fortunate people like to watch what we're doing and like to be part of it as well. So
yeah,
okay.
You know, but even we can be skeptical at times, don't we? Because we've been to places and we've seen things and we've experienced things, and when somebody is done exactly the same thing and they've experienced the same thing, if you like, but they've sort of described their experience as being slightly different, sometimes that can raise a few sort of skeptical thoughts.
Yeah.
Particularly if people are elaborating too much or contradicting themselves with the detail, that then sort of does raise your own sort of skeptic sort of thoughts, really.
Yeah. Excuse me. Martin says, the asked at the beginning, I said I was 50-50, but at the end of the event, I was 100% believer. That's fantastic, though, Martin. That was, but again, you said that was your experiences.
Yeah, and I bet you wanted to come back for more, didn't you?
Yeah, and they're the best sort.
Once you get the book.
Oh, yeah. Kay says, yes, it's that oh my God moment, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
I always think a good investigation is when you leave the place with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
Because paranormal investigation should give you more questions. If you're progressing on your journey, you should always be given more questions from spirit. Is that right, Jane?
Yeah, I think so. Because you may get all the answers that you were looking for, but by the time you leave, you sort of go up to another level of questioning.
Yeah,
and you want to know more, you know, the different answers.
Yeah, that's right. Neil says, I think any skeptic should visit the centre when it opens and see if you're still a skeptic when you've done investigation there. Thank you, Neil. It is a special place, even if we say so ourselves.
Yeah, and we have seen many a grown man, believers or non-believers, come out of the centre shaking in tears and just sometimes spirit have just destroyed them, and but that's what they go for. That's the experience that they want. Yeah,
we always say be careful what you wish for at the centre.
Yeah,
because you might get that and more. Okay, Shell says, I think you have to be a little skeptical to be able to debunk, otherwise everything would be paranormal. This is very true.
Yeah.
One says, even though there are skeptics, the majority of them must be questionable because they are attending. But it is good to be asked questions to learn and questions they ask. It's true.
Yeah.
Martin says, I could not sleep that day trying to figure it all out. Exactly, you say. That night gave you so many questions, it kept you awake.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of that is a good investigation, personally, to me.
Yeah.
David says, I would like to go on investigation, but I'm terrified of ghosts.
Yeah.
We have nice ones at the centre. We got some bad ones, but there are some nice ones. So there's no more questions. We've got about 5 minutes left. Any more questions out there? You got anything
Do
you'd
you
like
wanna-
to say, Jane?
Yeah, I was just going to say, all the people that have come up to the centre, and you know, when they've been invited to perhaps go on, because on a Saturday afternoon, if anybody's been up at the centre, they'll probably realise, well, they'll probably know that there's probably some guests in there, and they're probably just having a bit of a go on a Ouija board and that sort of thing. And when we've invited people to join in, or if they want to go, and then they'll go, no, I don't want to do that. And you get talking to some of these skeptics, and they'll say, oh no, I wouldn't do that. Oh no, I don't believe in that. But when you invite them to sort of join in and do something, they generally refuse because they, you know, they're either frightened or it's they've heard too many stories about it. And then you think, well, if you're skeptic and you don't believe in any of it, then what's your problem? You know, why are you scared if you don't believe in it?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Stefan says, can you get any insights from old written letters or deeds about the characters that have written them, or from their signatures? I have quite a few Victorian letters and old wills and apprenticeships written on vellum. It would be so interesting to be able to contact them. That was over to you, Jane.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you've got any names and dates and things, you could always look up and try and find these people. But also, you know, there's also psychometry that you could do just by holding the letters and just sort of thinking of the people that wrote them. You can perhaps get some information from that. Letters generally contain a lot of human emotion, and they've actually been handwritten themselves. So that energy is sort of, and that emotion has gone into writing that letter. So you might find that there's a lot more energy in them than what you know than probably what you realize. So have a go at doing some psychometry, or just trying to find the names and the people that have written them.
Bloss is going because her foot's in agony. Yeah, feel better soon, Bloss.
Oh, bless you.
AJ said it'll be a treat as we will stay in a bed and breakfast nearby. How about it, Yvonne Hunter? Yeah, you'll have to come, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, that's about it. That hour's gone so quick.
Yeah.
Some fantastic questions. I'm researching what's on next week. Look on my phone. Next week, next Tuesday, the topic that we're going to be discussing is investigating with tech. So we will be having Danny Moss on with us.
I always love talking to Danny.
It's always good talking to Danny. So yeah, and of course his team use tech on their investigations. So that's what we'll be talking about next week. Jane and I will be on the podcast next Monday night at 9 o'clock on Spreaker, but it's also on the Facebook page and YouTube as well. So if you fancy listening to us, please join us, because I haven't got a clue how many people actually listen to us. It'd be nice if we thought people were actually listening, because we just have a chat. We have the Paranormal Clinic. We tell some stories. We have some great music, don't we, Jane?
Yeah, we have paranormal news, and we review some of the items at the centre. And Neil gets to play all his favourite 70s songs, so he's well happy.
I love it. And plus we're not on camera, so we can just chill out and we're just talking to you. So it's all good. So that's Monday. So please join us on the Haunted Connection podcast. And like I said, we've got Danny Moss next Tuesday. So that'll be an interesting one as always.
Yeah,
we've talked to Danny quite a few times. And I think they're going to be starting filming series 4 of the Haunted Haunts soon. So
yeah,
we can
good.
ask some questions about that one.
Yeah, cool.
So thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for all your comments and all your questions, and thanks for joining us tonight. It's been really good. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope you all have too.
So
so stay safe, be good, and we'll see you all soon.
And it's good night for me.
And it's good night from me.
Good night from her.
Was asleep.